Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Holly and this is my booktube channel. I talk about books and reading, and I'm usually drinking some kind of coffee. Today I'm even wearing a coffee shirt from the Black Rifle Coffee Company. If you haven't checked them out, what are you doing? They have fantastic coffee, and a lot of their proceeds go towards supporting veterans, first responders, all of our front of the line men and women, and it's just excellent coffee, so you have nothing to lose. I just noticed my dog's ass is in this video. Charming. Y'all, I'm on my couch today. We're keeping it kind of casual and you're gonna get some dog content. In any event, we're gonna get rolling with this video. I've got kind of a unique lineup for y'all. I was going through a lot of my childhood books. My parents gave me a giant box full of books that were on my bookshelf in my childhood teenage room, and I've been having a lot of fun going through them and feeling nostalgic and remembering reading all of these books. And it's kind of fortuitous because when this video comes out, it should be Groundhog Day, which, if you're unfamiliar with the trope Groundhog Day, it is a trope in the reading world. It essentially deals with people stuck in a time loop. So have you ever heard or seen movies where someone is forced to repeat the same day over and over and they keep having to go back in time? So kind of a time travel situation as well. That's the Groundhog Day trope. So in this box of my childhood books that I've got sitting in front of me here, there were a few that fit the Groundhog Day trope theme, so I thought I'll start with those, and then the rest will just be kind of random. This will be fun. We'll see where it goes, and grab a cup of coffee and let's get into it. The first book I have for you fits the Groundhog trope theme really well, and that is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. If you grew up in the 90s or early 2000s, or hell, even today, I'm sure that kids are still reading it, you probably read the Harry Potter books. This is number 3 in the series, and there is a large part of the book where Hermione, Ron, and Harry have to keep going back in time to try to fix a certain situation. Hermione's got a little device that allows her to travel back in time, and I believe it's called a time turner. It's been a while since I've read it. And it allows them to go back in time and try to change events that have happened in the book and make them turn out better. If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about, but this is a perfect Groundhog Day trope book, and that is Harry Potter, the Prisoner of Azkaban. Next up, this one is more along the lines of the time travel trope, but it sort of fits, and that is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. This is a series as well, and I fell in love with it when I first read it. I thought it was awesome, and this one is kind of hard to explain, so I'll read the back to make it a little easier. Deep in the heart of Oxford's Bodleian Library, I'm not pronouncing that right, Diana Bishop, a young scholar and the descendant of witches, unearths an enchanted alchemical manuscript. Wanting nothing to do with sorcery, she banishes the books to the stacks, but her discovery has set a fantastical underworld stirring, and soon a horde of demons, witches, and other creatures descends upon the library. Among them is the enigmatic Matthew Claremont, a vampire with a keen interest in the book. Equal parts history and magic, romance and suspense, A Discovery of Witches is a mesmerizing and addictive tale of passion and obsession that reveals the closely guarded secrets of an enchanted world. So the back of the book does not really clue you in on the fact that there's time travel involved, but trust me, there is, and it's epic. You will love it. That is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. The third book that I have for you that deals with time travel is one of my favorites. That is Timeline by Michael Crichton. Michael Crichton wrote all the Jurassic Park books. He wrote Congo, a ton of other amazing ones that you might not have known about. But this one, I feel like, is really underrated. People don't seem to know about it or have forgotten about it. It's been out for quite a long time, but it is amazing, one of my favorites. In an Arizona desert, a man wanders in a daze, speaking words that make no sense. Within 24 hours, he is dead, his body swiftly cremated by his only known associates. Halfway around the world, archaeologists make a shocking discovery at the medieval site. Suddenly, they are swept off to the headquarters of a secretive multinational corporation that has developed an astounding technology. Now, this group is about to get a chance not to study the past, but to enter it. And with history open to the present, the dead awakened to the living, these men and women will soon find themselves fighting for their very survival 600 years ago. So, it's awesome. These men and women travel back in time 600 years to medieval times. It is seriously insane. Like, I loved this book. It took me on such an adventure. I remember reading it as maybe a teenager or in college, I think. And it's incredible. There's this technology that they're able to use where the people that travel back in time, they have these really discreet earpieces lodged in their ear. And when people in the medieval times are speaking to them in basically an archaic English, it translates it in their ear so they're able to understand what people are saying. Who thinks of that? I thought that was so creative of Michael Crichton to think of stuff like that, and that's just one tiny detail of this book. Just pick it up, read it, you will love it. It definitely fits the time travel sort of theme as well. That is Timeline by Michael Crichton. All right, so the rest of the books I have for you, I'm gonna try to get them organized, but it's a little bit random because it was just a giant box of books. So I'm gonna do my best to sort of group them so that we're not here all day long. There's a ton. I have a mountain sitting next to me. But yeah, let's go. Since we just left off with a Michael Crichton book, I thought I'd throw another one at you. And that is, of course, Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. If you haven't read the book, you've probably seen the movie. If you haven't seen the movie, who are you? Go watch it. The book actually, if I remember right, I felt like it was very different from the movie. Not in a bad way necessarily, but very different. And if you've read the book and seen the movie, I'd be curious to know your thoughts about which one you liked better. I'm not really sure I have an opinion. I kind of liked both. Usually I'm a book over a movie type of person, but I feel like Jurassic Park was such an iconic movie in my childhood that I can't really diss it. Next up, we have some Stephen King books. These are the Stephen King books that I read as a teenager, and I've got more, but these are the ones I remember reading as a teenager. That's why they were in this box. They were probably on my bookshelf. The Shining. I've talked about this one. You've probably heard of it. Pretty classic Stephen King book. I also have It. This is quite a chunk to get through, but it's so worth it. It's so iconic to the Stephen King empire. Awesome book. Pick it up. I know you'll love it. And another chunker, we have Needful Things by Stephen King. This one was actually really good. I remember really liking it. It was creepy and I enjoyed it. That is Needful Things and It and The Shining by Stephen King. This next stack of books I must have read as a young child. These look like Penguin classics. Here you have Around the World in 80 Days, The Wizard of Oz, Heidi, Black Beauty. Oh my gosh, that one tore my heart out, y'all. Did you read it? Let me know. And A Little Princess. This one even has an AR reading sticker on it. Oh my goodness. Did y'all have to take AR tests? I did. But yeah, I must have read these as a child. They're kind of just classic novels. Let me know if you read any of these. This next little stack are also some more classics, but a little more upper reading level. They all kind of fit this little collection. I've got Great Expectations, which I remember having to read in high school. I was bored to freaking tears in high school. I don't know if I read it now as an adult, if I'd have a different appreciation for it, but it was murder back in high school. I did not enjoy it. We also have Grimm's Fairy Tales, Dracula, which I love. I love Bram Stoker's Dracula. That is an excellent vampire novel. And we also have The Scarlet Letter. I think this was another read that I had to read for an English class. This one was actually really good. Some of y'all may remember reading it for class. So yeah, those are some more adultish teenage classics. Oh, I just found one from, I remember one of my favorite authors as a kid, Mary Downing Hahn. This one's called All the Lovely Bad Ones. I know I have a ton more of her books somewhere. I'm gonna have to find them because Wait Till Helen Comes was one of my absolute favorites. That book scared the crap out of me. And I think Wait Till Helen Comes has actually been turned into a graphic novel just recently. So if you liked that book as a kid, maybe you'd like the graphic novel. Ooh, this one. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. This is near and dear to my heart. It just is. I mean, if you love horror and Halloween and scary stories, you had to have loved this as a child. And if you've never read it, you can still love it as an adult. Trust me, it's good. Oh my goodness, I have not seen these in years. Do y'all remember Roald Dahl? Do you remember his books? They were some of my favorites. I have Matilda. You've probably read this or seen the movie. She's like this tiny girl, young girl genius, and her parents suck. Mr. and Mrs. Wormwood are her parents, and they are just awful people. But she is brilliant and finds comfort in books and her teacher, Miss Honey, and she's actually magical. And you also have Boy by Roald Dahl. I don't remember all the specifics of Boy. I'd have to read the back or look it up because it's been so long, but I remember enjoying this one as well. The Witches was one of my favorites as a kid, and I loved the movie. I distinctly remember every Friday my dad would take me to Blockbuster to rent a movie, then Dairy Queen for ice cream, and then we'd get pizza. Every Friday. And without fail, I would go to Blockbuster and rent the Witches movie. I loved it. I was obsessed. My dad thought there was something wrong with me because I wanted to watch the same movie all the time. But it was fantastic. If you haven't seen the movie or haven't read the book, you need to. It's excellent. Wow, these are old. Do y'all remember the Little House on the Prairie books? Oh my gosh, by Laura Ingalls Wilder. I've got 3 of them here. I probably read more as a kid. I have On the Banks of Plum Creek, Farmer Boy, and The Long Winter. Wow, just wow. This takes me back. Ooh, this is a great one. Memoirs of a Geisha. Do y'all remember when this came out? It was such a sensation because it hits at the female experience so stinking well, and the author is actually male. So it's just incredible. Like, if you haven't read this one or seen the movie, you need to get on it. Another good book turned movie is The Devil Wears Prada. Kind of a chick flick type of movie and probably a chick lit read, but I thought it was really good, and the book actually differs from the movie in a really significant way towards the end, and I prefer the book. Just saying. In the movie, she and the main character and Miranda Priestley, her boss, kind of part ways in like an amicable sort of way. In the book, if I remember right, she tells her to F off, which I thought was a way more epic ending, and the movie should have gone with that. But if you haven't read it, you need to. It's a good one. Looks like there's a couple of non-fictions in here as well. I have The Forensic Science of CSI. I was super into CSI and FBI, still am really, and I wanted to be an FBI agent all my life. I actually almost was. I was physically training to get ready for FBI training in Quantico, Virginia, when I met my husband. So yeah, needless to say, I did not go to Virginia and I am not an FBI agent, but still very interested in the science behind it. As you can see, this was part of my childhood teenage bookshelf, so it's been a lifelong interest of mine. And we have No Limits by Michael Phelps. I was a competitive swimmer almost my entire life, so very into Michael Phelps, and I think this was a gift from my aunt maybe, or my cousin. I can't remember everything that it's about, but it's been so long since I've read it. But yeah, you can tell what my interests were. There were so many books to go through that it would take me forever to try to get through everything, so I'm just gonna kind of wrap it up with these last three. Do y'all remember this one? A Million Little Pieces. This went everywhere. Everybody was reading it, and I think it even kind of became controversial because it came out that the author who wrote this wasn't entirely truthful, because it's kind of a memoir, sort of, not really an autobiography, but more of a memoir. And he claimed that all of these crazy things that happened to him were true, and it came out later. Some of them were kind of fabricated or exaggerated, and that upset a lot of people for some reason. So, you know, take it for what it is. It's a good story either way. This one, I Am Charlotte Simmons, is the name of the book. It doesn't have the title on the front, it just says the author's name, Tom Wolfe, but you can see there, I Am Charlotte Simmons is the name of the book. This one was actually one my dad recommended to me. He said he heard someone talking about it on the radio, and he said that the person was saying anyone about to go to college should read this book. And that was where I was at that point in my life. So my dad recommended it to me, and I remember really liking it. I can't remember all the details about it, but I remember enjoying it. And yeah, that is I Am Charlotte Simmons by Tom Wolfe. And last but not least, we have Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. This is part of the Hannibal Lecter series. So The Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, Red Dragon. Red Dragon, I believe, is like a prequel to either Hannibal or Silence of the Lambs. I can't remember which one comes first. I'd have to look that up. The back says, when he was an FBI agent, Will Graham risked his sanity to capture Dr. Hannibal Lecter, an ingenious killer like no other. Now Graham is following the blood-stained pattern of the Tooth Fairy, a madman who's already wiped out 2 families. To find him, Graham has to understand him. To understand him, Graham has only one place left to go, the mind of Dr. Lecter. You can see how that ties into the Hannibal Lecter series, the Silence of the Lambs books, and I remember really liking this. This book freaked me out when I read it. I remember thinking, wow, that is disturbing but excellent. So yeah, that is Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. Well, that about wraps it up for now. I hope y'all enjoyed seeing some of the books that I found in my childhood box of books, and I certainly enjoyed going through everything. It's been forever since I've read these, but you can tell I've been a reader most of my life. I've always loved books. I've always loved how they take me to another place. I love reading, always will. What are you all up to today? It is Saturday as I'm filming this, and I'm kind of planning to go to my library. Maybe check out a few books, maybe wander the shelves. Everyone that is in my life is either working or out of town this weekend, so I get a lot of solo time to myself to read, go to the library, shop for books, do all those book geek things that I love to do. And I hope y'all have a fantastic day, whatever day it is for you. And I will see y'all in my next video. Bye y'all.